And I don't want to say I heard him say this, but I felt him say it. I'm going to bless your womb. We are here at episode 3 on I Can't Wait to Travel.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm Lisa.
And Anthony.
And you guys, if you've been joining us on episode 1 and 2, you saw how we met. Anthony proposed. We got married. We went on our honeymoon. We shared all the travels. And that was all the way back in 2006.
Who would have known?
Who would have known? Now we're going to speed up the clock by about, I'd say 10 years.
10 years. Wow, that went by fast.
We've been married.
Then episode 2 to 3.
We've gone on so many trips. We made sure that we've enjoyed life. There's been ups and downs.
And more ups.
And plenty of ups.
And downs.
He's made these years fly by. But we're going to slow it down around 2018-ish. And
2018.
we ended up going on a really big trip, and that was to Hawaii.
And why did we end up choosing to go to Hawaii for this big trip? Because
our 10-year anniversary was supposed to be huge. Huge. We wanted to go to St. Lucia, which is the Hawaii of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous. You have the pitons, the beautiful topography. It's incredible. But unfortunately,
we had a bad experience.
We had a bad experience with our butler at our resort, where basically,
and it's not even like we didn't even need to have because we're not like
we're not the type of people who need a butler to do anything.
But for the 10-year anniversary, we wanted to go all out, get like one of the really good room, and it actually the room had a little, I don't know if you got like a plunge pool in it over like a cliff, nice views.
So basically, because it was our 10-year anniversary, we wanted to do Sandals again because that's where we did our honeymoon, but we wanted it to be at St. Lucia.
Yeah.
So this is before our travel agency days. We didn't have someone to share with us that St. Lucia has 3 Sandals properties: La Toc, Halcyon, and the Grand. So if you want to go to a quiet, modern resort, Halcyon all the way.
Yeah.
If you want to go to the party, average rooms in regards to old versus new, it's moderate. St. Lucia Grand. If you want to go to the mountainous, hilly side, you go to Sandals La Toc. So we wanted this great experience. However, our room was not up to date.
Yeah, it was a little bit older looking.
However, certain room categories were newer.
Yeah. They were just doing it. They just did a partial renovation.
Exactly. So they switched us to a newer room style, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. But because it was newer, the Wi-Fi wasn't working.
Yeah,
they didn't have people working over there yet to take care of us. There was construction going on.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't what we imagined for our 10-year anniversary. But it sure looked like a 10-year anniversary with the bill, right?
It sure did. We spent a lot of time going over to the Grand. The Grand was fun, though.
The Grand was amazing.
The Grand was so much fun. Watch out for what was it again? Somebody got...
Yes, they have jellyfish in the water at the Grand, so you can get stung. But focus on the positive, brother.
I think only one person did, and this was years ago, so they probably got them all out.
The Grand is the type of resort when you get onto the property and you just walk in.
It's grand.
You feel like the Little Mermaid. It's like, are you trying to harmonize with me? So it's just absolutely beautiful. And that would have been more of our style and fit at the Grand and La Toc.
It was beautiful there. Yes. That property is really positioned perfectly. You can see the pitons from there. The water is beautiful. You have a little jerk pit you could go to, sit out really there, cool. Have your little jerk chicken and jerk fish.
Funny thing that happened.
Fun fact
is that when we were at Sandals La Talk, we were not enjoying our butler because, he just made empty promises and never delivered. So we went over to Sandals' Halcyon, and I saw this lady, and we just hit it off. She was at the receptionist desk, and she was like, "How are you enjoying Sandals La Talk?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, let me tell you about the butler. He's horrible, this, and that." And I'm listing everything about him, and she's like, "What's your butler's name?" And I said his name, and she's like, "That's my boyfriend."
That's my boyfriend, You're talking about my boyfriend.
And I was like,
You know that Homer thing going into the bushes?
But the sad part is, I know they had conversations about it that night because, and we still had to have him for 2 or 3 more days.
Embarrassing. So embarrassing.
Yeah. So that's why we decided to do a redo of our trip. And we ended up going to Hawaii.
Hawaii.
We wanted to do like something really amazing. So we got our first suite.
Yeah. But before we went to Hawaii, didn't we go to San Francisco first? No. Wrong Hawaii trip.
Wrong Hawaii trip. That's when you know you travel, when you're confusing the Hawaii trips.
Yeah.
So we got a beautiful suite on the Norwegian Pride.
Norwegian.
And Norwegian Pride is the only ship. You're such a fool. Norwegian Pride is the only ship that leaves from Hawaii. If you go on Celebrity, which we love, or Royal, or Princess, or any of the other cruises, they start off in another location. So they would start off in San Francisco or Seattle, but Norwegian is the only one that starts in Hawaii, and they have that privilege because their entire ship is U.S. Employees, all American employees.
American bred, American strong.
So it's great that they're empowering American employees to be their ship cast. Is that?
Yeah, I guess you could cast. Well, the cast is who was singing and dancing on the stage.
But what would it be? The ship. But what would the ship
crew?
The ship crew. So it's great that they're empowering the U.S. Crew, but I actually thought that the service wasn't as great with all the U.S. crew.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't know. And it's not like we're like picky. We're looking like, we must have the greatest service in the world. Do you know where we're from? We represent the Queen. No, it's not like that. When you go overseas and you have other different cultures that are, on the crew versus when it's an all-American crew, you do notice that the service quality, it varies.
I just think it's cultural. I think that with Americans, we give a different type of service than other countries.
Yeah. Oh, American, I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna get you your water. You go get your own water. But, sir, I just sat down for a drink. You go get your own water. No, that didn't happen. I'm just over-exaggerating.
So, before we go into the Norwegian cruise and what happened, let's take it back a few steps. And I would say our cruise was in November of that year.
Yeah.
So if we go back to, I would say by the summer. For those of you who don't know, we are Christians, we're believers, we are spiritual. And I've never had this happen to me before, but I ended up having, I wouldn't call it a dream. It's like that stage where you're not awake, you're not sleeping, but you're kind of in that limbo period and you're aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
And I felt the presence of God. And I don't want to say I heard him say this, but I felt him say it. I'm going to bless your womb. So I remember when he said it to me, I took my hand and I moved it over and I just held your hand in the bed.
Yep.
And I didn't know, should I say anything? Because I didn't want to talk and like have the presence leave me. you know? So I just like laid in it and felt like, are you going to say anything else? Or, you know, and I felt it so strong that I was like, wow. So at this point, we've now been married for over 10 years.
Yeah.
We haven't had a child. It had become a desire, not the entire 10 years that we've been married, but I would say the last few years before this.
Because we were like career focused, you know, you focus on your career. If we had a child now, it just wouldn't be a good time.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow, okay, what does that mean? So I remember I was feeling really tired at work. I was working really long shifts, but something just seemed off.
Yeah.
I was feeling tired, so I looked for an endocrinologist, and they were all like, 3 months from now, you can see us, 4 months from now. So I just eventually found one that we could see her by next week.
Yeah. Jack, I have no customers. Come on in.
So we went in to see her, and she said, how did you find me? I didn't want to tell her, like, well, you were the only one available. So I said, oh, you know, we just found you,
You know, internet search.
And she says, well, it's interesting because I'm an endocrinology. I'm a reproductive endocrinologist, is what she said.
2-for-1.
So we had no desire to speak with someone at that point about us not having children. We just went to her for the fatigue, and something felt off. I was gaining weight. I'm like, is there a thyroid issue? What's happening with me?
Yeah.
So she was like doing this long, detailed history and gathering all of this information. And she said, I've noticed that you've had some like fibroid surgeries here, and you've had a history of not having kids yet. Is that a desire that you guys have? And this is only like a week or two after that dream I just had, or that vision I have.
Like,
so I'm like, God, is this you? Are you working in the midst here? So she's like, well, I don't know why you came to me, but I do reproductive endocrinology. I'd love to explore this part of your history. And I really think I know the reason why you haven't had a baby. And we were just like, really? Okay.
Interesting.
So we said, okay, well, what do you think? She's like, I think if we just, start you on these hormones,
that would do the trick.
Your follicles will develop fully and you'll be fine. We were like, okay, let's go for it. I mean, God just had that vision. You went to this endocrinologist by chance, and now this is the situation. And we started the process. And everything was fine. We had to do the shots. You were putting on your gloves.
Shots.
I remember you would come into the room. That's how you gave me my shots?
Yeah, I was like, shots. No, it's not more than 3. It's just 1.
And we thought, okay, maybe this is it.
Maybe this is what the Lord wants to happen.
So we planned this great trip to go to Hawaii on Norwegian. We were so excited. This is our first time on lay flats.
Oh, man, that was fun.
Explain to the people what lay flats are.
Oh, man, let me tell you. This was the first time we were going on a flight. We went from Miami to Dallas. That was 3.5 hours. In Dallas to Hawaii, specifically Honolulu. And we got to go on lay flat seats. So what happens is you're in business class and the seats literally lay flat. Like they give you a blanket and everything. You have a pillow. They come by, they feed you multiple times throughout the flight. You got your TV screen. And it's like, even the chair is about as big as this chair, actually, but actually reclines. It's like so relaxing.
You're literally laying flat.
So it was like great experience. Like, especially when you're going on, it was 8.5 hours from DFW from Dallas. Like, and I still didn't really like flying, but I wasn't as nervous then, but it was such a great experience.
Yeah. So we were totally flying on the way to Hawaii.
Yeah.
We get to Honolulu. We're so excited. I mean, who is not excited to be in Hawaii?
6-hour time zone difference, though.
And then when we get there, it was the next day. I looked down at my feet
Right.
And my ankles are huge. I mean, they are like huge, huge ankles. And I'm like, wow,
The angles or ankles?
ankles.
Oh, okay. From this angle, it looks huge, but from this angle, it was small. I don't know which angle it was.
So my ankles were huge. And I was just like, wow, is this just like from being on the long flight? I wore my
Yeah.
compression stockings. What's going on?
And just a quick, it's like, I think it's important, especially when you're going on long flights, to be able to wear compression socks to really keep the circulation. And they talk about like getting up on those long flights, walking around, you know, even if you don't have to go to the bathroom, just walk to the back, come back up, just to keep the circulation going. And also drink a lot of water. You want to make sure you're well hydrated, because sometimes you get headaches and all this other stuff.
So true. Great points.
Thank you.
Great points. So I'm like, that's odd, but we kept it moving. We're in Hawaii.
Hawaii.
And we went to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Do you want to tell them about?
Yeah, Pearl Harbor is, they had all the, before you go and actually go onto the Navy ships and see some of the ships that are actually at the bottom of the water there, they take you through kind of reenactment, well, not reenactment, but actual live videos that were recorded of the Pearl Harbor scene, which was very like touching and made you want to like cry. And then when we went actually onto the boat that took us over there to the area where like the memorial, we were able to see the memorial, and then you're able to actually look down and see one of the ships that were sunk, and a number of people who survived from that ship. I forgot the name of that Navy ship. A number of the people who survived, their request was, when I pass, I want to be buried down there. So either I suspect that they were cremated, and so people wanted to be buried down there with their brothers and sisters who died on the ship, which was very touching. And we also were able to go on one of the other naval ships. And you actually, like your ankle, you said your ankles were, or your angles were swollen, and the left angle of their right ankle was swollen. And you started walking. You were like getting swollen in your face.
But you didn't tell me about my face.
You looked fine to me.
And then I ended up falling.
Yes.
So what were you thinking at this point? My ankles are swollen. My face is swelling. I'm falling on the ship. What are you thinking?
I was thinking, life alert. I've fallen and can't get up. But I was there to help you up. And I was like, what is going on here? All these things are happening to her. And I was like, come on up, dear. Come on. We got to get out of here. She's not feeling good. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here. And a couple other times you end up falling just randomly as well, too. But I was getting pretty nervous because, like, man, we're nowhere near home at this point. I mean, granted, we're still in the U.S. being in Hawaii, but we're a long ways from home.
Yeah. So all I knew about was the ankle swelling, and now this fall is kind of weird to me. So we go back on the ship. We finally get on the ship. We're enjoying the Norwegian Pride cruise. And
we had a suite too, because we needed to take advantage of our botched 10-year anniversary. And we had a suite. It was this big room. It was like amazing.
Yeah, it was a gorgeous room. Beautiful room. It was just really exciting to be in Hawaii on a suite, on a cruise, going to all these islands.
7-night cruise too.
Yes. And so I remember one night we were leaving the Asian restaurant. We walked into the elevator with this other couple that we didn't know. And in the elevator, they had mirrors. And I looked in the mirror and I could not believe my eyes. My stomach was like, it looked like I was like 5 months pregnant.
You were thinking, man, these shots are working fast.
I looked like I was 5 months pregnant. My face was swollen. And I was like, what is happening?
Shots.
I didn't say anything because we were there with the other couple. I was processing it all. And I went into the cabin and I said to you, have you noticed that I've gained weight?
Me?
And you said, dear, you look beautiful no matter what. And I said, I didn't ask you that. Have you noticed that I gained weight?
Oof. It's like Jeopardy. Oh man, what do you
And
say?
you were just like, ugh. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me?
I thought you just liked the cheesecake on the trip and the cookies.
And I was just like, so for those of you who don't know, at this time I'm a PA. I work in the medical field, so I'm going through my differentials. I'm like physician assistant, and I'm going through my differentials, thinking, okay, like and actually at the top of my list, I was like, is this lupus?
Lupus?
Is this a kidney failure? Is this, I'm going through like all these different ailments. Then the next day, chest tightness.
Oh Lord.
So I'm like, now my legs are swollen, my chest is tight, my stomach's big, and then on the way back from our excursion, I start getting leg pain. And now I'm getting worried, but I don't want to tell him because we flew on lay flats, got this suite on Norwegian Pride.
Yeah.
This wasn't a small trip. Like we really invested to have a great time. I do not want to ruin this trip. That's what I was
That's
thinking.
how you were feeling.
Yeah. So
I would have been understanding though.
You definitely would have been, but I just didn't want to ruin Hawaii. And then when I would speak to the people when we get to the small islands, because every day we're at a new island, I was like, so where is your hospital here? Thinking like, what if something happens to me?
Case.
And they're like, hospital? You have to go to the mainland for that.
That's
and I was just like,
mainland,
oh my gosh.
All the way to Honolulu, the mainland.
The main island.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my
Big
gosh,
island.
what are we going to do?
Yeah.
But despite me feeling so bad, we still had such an incredible time.
That was great memories.
If you have never been to Hawaii,
go tomorrow.
For sure. But definitely go on a cruise just because every island is so different.
Kauai.
And you can get to see what fits you. For instance, let's talk a little bit about our favorite islands. For Honolulu, what were your thoughts about Honolulu?
Well, Honolulu is
where we started off.
Like it's like big city, kind of like how you would see Miami, Fort Lauderdale, LA. I mean, not exactly like that, but it's big city when it comes to the islands. A lot of traffic. Really like the food there, actually too. Even when we went to the grocery store, all this fresh fruit and everything. I mean, people were really nice. We got to learn a lot about the culture. What's his name? King Kamehameha. Which was actually one of the kings who united all the Hawaiian islands, and he was actually a black man. You saw a black statue in I don't know if that was like the middle of the town square where you did a roundabout. And I was like, wow, I never even heard of this.
Yeah.
The cultural impact of Hawaii. I was like, wow, we learned a lot during that trip.
Absolutely. It was so incredible. I think it's a good starter place because you have the beach and you have all the tourist activities to do.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a great starter.
And you can also ski in Hawaii. You can go skiing in Hawaii and go surfing in Hawaii all in the same day, which is crazy.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Another island that we went to that's memorable for me, I love Maui.
Oh, yeah. Maui's beautiful.
We went on the road
to Hana. That was a long road, winding road, literally winding around.
A winding road, long. One way in and one way out.
Yeah. And
do you think the road to Hana was worth the drive? We drove for hours to get to Hana. And we got there, and our tour guide took out some sandwiches.
Yeah, here you guys go.
And it's like, you're in Hana. Yeah. We're like, oh. I mean,
it was 10 minutes. Yeah. Hurry up.
Like, it was beautiful. The black sand and the water. It was absolutely gorgeous. I just wish the road to Hana was
a shorter road to Hana.
Shorter road.
They need to call it the wrong road to Hana.
The wrong road?
The long road.
Oh, the long
road. That
was
a long drive.
Was.
And then on the way back, people were so tired. Oh my God.
We drove for hours to get to Hana.
Yeah. And we saw a lot of trucks on the side of the road that they go hunting for hogs. The hog hunting season.
I don't even remember this happening.
Yeah, but on the truck, they had the big cages. So when they catch some hogs, they put them in. Yeah, that's a big thing over there. Go hog hunting.
Awesome.
Go roast that hog.
The other island that I thought was memorable, Kauai.
Kauai. And you got to pronounce it right. Kauai.
Yes. And that was just such a spiritual location
Yeah, I
where
love that.
you feel the presence
Yeah,
of
you feel that spirit.
Yeah, there's like a presence
Calming.
there.
It's hard to describe
It's like
unless
peace.
it's very peaceful.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
So definitely we got to see a different island, but for me, Honolulu, Maui, Kauai
Mm-hmm.
stood out for
Yeah.
sure.
The same for me. Yeah.
So we endured the whole trip. We made it, even with all of these, ailments continuing throughout. And now,
And then when we went there initially, because when we arrived, not to go back, but when we arrived there in Honolulu, we stayed for I think 2 nights at Prince Waikiki Hotel, which was like on a pier, which was amazing. And we recommend that because especially when you have a long flight, 6-hour time zone difference, you want to try to get acclimated to the time zone before going on your trip. But some people, they may want to say, I just want to get on the cruise. You get there, but if you have delays, then you could miss your cruise. So we recommend getting there at least 2 days or maybe a day prior, just in case.
For sure. So we endured this trip with all these ailments. We make it to the end, but the flight back was rough.
Yeah.
All of these ailments that I'm having are now increasing. And immediately we got back to Florida and I left the airport and went straight to the doctor.
Yeah.
And at that point I told the doctor, I said, I think I might have lupus. And he's like, nah, get out of here.
Get out of here.
There's no way you have lupus. I'm like, I'm a Black woman, chest pain, swelling. There's
all
something going on. Yeah,
associated
there's
with
something
it.
going wrong. I don't have the butterfly rash, but I have everything, all these other things. So he goes, nope. They thought I was having like a clot in my chest because of the chest pain. So they sent me to the hospital and they said, no, everything's fine. Came back home, things didn't go away. And I went back and forth to the hospital for months. Went back to the doctor who gave us the shots. She's like, I don't know what's going on. And after maybe 3 or 4 months in and out of the hospital, we figured out that I was diagnosed with lupus. And
how we were able to get that diagnosis it was almost like the woman with the issue of blood in the Bible, going from doctor to doctor, trying to figure out what's going on. And then we were able to go to New York and we saw a doctor there who specialized in autoimmune conditions, as well as tying into the whole fertility issue as well too.
Yeah.
And she was very, very helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And, there were moments where I thought I was going crazy in those months because when you're just going through that and no one can tell you what's wrong, what's the diagnosis, you start questioning yourself. Like, am I going, am I losing it? Am I imagining these symptoms? At one point, one of the doctors at the hospital told me that my legs were swollen because of gravity.
What a quack. Gravity's causing your left leg to go swollen and stuff. Like, what sense does it make? We don't live on an off planet and then just happen to be visiting Earth.
Yeah, it was just
for the first time with gravity.
So imagine now on the Christian side, I believe that I get this vision from God. We end up at this reproductive endocrinologist by chance.
Yep.
We move forward with this plan that wasn't even pressing in us to that extent because we're like, okay, God, this must be you. And then it leads us down the path of me getting a chronic illness that I have for possibly the rest of my life. And it just makes you think like, why would God allow that vision to happen, that doctor to be found, this whole process to take place? It really makes you wonder.
It does. And sometimes you don't figure it out or won't understand until many years later. I mean, Abraham was prophesied about that he was going to have a son, and it didn't happen until 25 years later. Abraham and Sarah. So, but just knowing, like, within the faith, it's like, oh, if you see a vision or you hear from God and you feel like, oh, it's going to happen soon. But sometimes these things don't happen until many moons later. You just never know. But still, regardless, we still believe God for whatever his will is, not what our will is, whatever his perfect will is at the end of the day.
And this diagnosis changed our entire life. That trip changed our entire life, because that fatigue that I was having were signs of the lupus. So, I'm having more fatigue. It's hard for me to work in the medical field for 12-hour days.
Yeah, that's rough.
And I, missing work for 3 months, trying to figure out what this is. And then COVID hits.
Yeah.
And when you have an autoimmune condition, you can't get sick because your body's attacking you. COVID's in place. Your immune
system is much lower. The defense
is
down. The walls are down.
And you work with kids who are sneezing and coughing.
Yeah.
My whole life changed.
Yeah.
All from this one experience.
Yeah. How did that make you feel? What were your emotions at the time going through that?
Spiritually, I felt like, I don't want to say I was upset or angry, but I was perplexed.
Yeah.
Like, God, I thought you said this. How did you allow this? Because you don't understand what he's doing in the process.
Yeah.
Professionally, my identity was tied to my profession a lot. So the fact that I didn't feel like I had enough energy to perform the way I wanted to affected my confidence, affected who I am. And because my identity was wrapped into that, it made me feel like, okay, so if I'm not this pediatric PA, if I'm not doing well at this job, then who am I? What am I? What's my purpose?
Interesting.
What's my next step?
Interesting.
How did it affect you as a husband, seeing your wife go through this and going through this?
Well, I feel like a lot of times whenever somebody approaches you with a problem, or if there's a problem, like as a husband or just the way I am, I want to figure out, like, oh, how can I solve it? How can I solve it? But this is beyond my scope, beyond my realm. It's like, man, I can't do anything. When you're in pain, it's like, what can I do? Give you some tea and water or whatever you want to eat. I mean, but it's like you can't do anything, or, just being there with you and going to the hospital appointment. So essentially, when you're in a situation where you know that you can't do anything, the best thing to be is to be available and to be there for that person emotionally, spiritually, to support them as they're going through it. Because like you said, like, you're going back and forth in your mind. This is how I feel personally. This is how I feel professionally, and being able to encourage you as you go through it,
And I thank you, because you were at every single appointment, every single hospital stay, every step of the way, you were always there.
Yeah. Thank God that the job was flexible, that I was able to work remotely.
Yeah.
I
think that even if it wasn't flexible, you would have figured out a way.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. But definitely it was a trip to remember.
Yeah.
And we made up for it. We went back to Hawaii several times since then.
Yeah.
And made sure that we had an incredible time.
And that's when we stopped in San Francisco.
Yes, that is when we stopped in San Francisco.
That's when we went to San Fran. It was a San Francisco treat.
Absolutely. Thank you for being a great husband, a great partner. And thank you for just being on this journey with me.
It's a journey, and the journey's not over, folks.
Yes. We have so much more to tell you. We're only on episode 3. Stay tuned as we continue to go through this walk of marriage, walk of partnering for this company. and just this journey of life and travel. Talk to you soon.
And don't forget, like and subscribe.